While the Kennedy Center removes Trump from its facade, Trump is trying to erase something else, his impeachment record. The Wall Street Journal reports, according to people familiar with the matter, that the president and his allies are now working on a plan to erase his 2 impeachments from history, moving to expunge them from the record altogether. Trump told the Journal over the phone this week, quote, "It should be done because I did nothing wrong. It was a rigged deal. It was a whole rigged situation." James Sample is back with us. And I'm not even really sure I need to ask you a question because this sounds sort of familiar.
What does that mean?
Rigged situation over here, over there. Everything is rigged.
There is no mechanism to unring an impeachment, just as you cannot unring a bell. In that particular Wall Street Journal piece, my friend, professor at University of North Carolina School of Law, Mike Gerhardt, called it absurd. And I think that's actually generous. That's a euphemism for what this is. It's a thing that happened in history. And
maybe he could also undo January 6th while he's at it if he's going to undo his impeachment.
Right. Well, and there he's had some success in erasing, convictions.
Rewriting the narrative.
Rewriting the narrative, rewriting. So it's all part and parcel. And look, it is actually consistent with the report you just came off of from Kevin Fry there, right? In a sense, just looking at that TARP, right? The TARP is opaque. You know what's interesting about that opaque TARP is it is so transparently there to hide what's really happening so that we don't get that visual of the actual letters being physically removed.
Yeah, because he definitely didn't have a problem when the letters were going up, and he doesn't have a problem when the name is going up somewhere, but he certainly has a problem when the name is being taken down. But on the impeachment issue for a second, I wonder how much of this is, again, Donald Trump not just trying to recast and rewrite history in the narrative, but prepare for something in the future. And I think the one outstanding question that I think I wonder if, folks like you are even contemplating as to whether or not Donald Trump tries to pardon himself before he leaves office, right? And I think, there's no doubt he's going to do it to his family, I suspect. When you see this IRS deal that he cut where he is trying to kind of immunize himself from being audited in the future, his family, his businesses, why not take it a step further and try to pardon himself and his family?
I'd be surprised if he doesn't try that, but I think that you're absolutely spot on in pointing to the IRS immunity deal. I think I understand, and I don't think it's a mistake by any stretch, why so much attention has been paid to the slush fund, right, to the anti-weaponization fund. Let's be clear. The real prize from his perspective was that audit immunity deal, and it is, at least on a relative level, flying under the radar. If you could give yourself something that no one has ever had, right, literally unprecedented, and it was worth $100 million, and you could give it to yourself as settlement for a case that is not actually an adversarial case, and which Judge Kathleen Williams, briefs were submitted as recently as last night in Florida, is considering the question of whether or not there was even a case to settle. That would be a pretty significant gift. We don't have precedent on point as to whether self-pardons are a legitimate mechanism. I suspect the Supreme Court would say it's a political question and they wouldn't touch it.
Well, and why would he even need a self-pardon if he has presidential immunity? Would he need it?
He has changed the law in numerous ways, including in 2024 in Trump v. United States, when the Supreme Court gave the president an immunity that was never before recognized. You're absolutely right, Elise.
So as we, this whole weekend sort of kicks off the America 250 theme and the celebrations leading up to July 4th, the nation's birthday. You're a constitutional law expert. What do you think our founders would think, if they were to be dropped down and be able to visit Washington, D.C. and get caught up in what's been going on in the country right now on its 250th birthday? What do you imagine would be going through their minds?
Well, the founders were flawed. Sometimes I think we make the mistake of romanticizing them as perfect people. They were flawed just as we all are. But I think that my assessment of where we are at age 250 is that there are real reasons for concern, but that the situation is not hopeless. And the examples that I would point to for hope are the kinds of things we've seen even in just the last year and a half. The people freezing in the cold in Minnesota who didn't complain for an instant about being out there. That's the kind of America that we can be. And I think that's the kind of America that, frankly, we need to be if we're going to make it another 250. I think they would be concerned about the devolution of separation of powers. I think they would be stunned at the power of the president and the impotence of Congress, whether by choice or by force.
So Trump has continued his trend of appointing personal lawyers into plum positions within his government. James McDonald has been selected to lead the New York Federal Prosecutor's Office. What do you make of that appointment?
Well, I mean, I think the president has the right to appoint or to nominate the people that he wants to nominate. I think that it is up to the Senate under our system to take Senate-confirmed positions and subject them to the scrutiny of a confirmation process that is meaningful. If that happens, and if the Senate takes that role seriously, then that's the system of government that we have. Then that's elections running their course. Is it concerning that that loyalty is the ultimate credential? Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're seeing that more and more in all these positions, not just Todd Blanche, but, whether it's Todd Blanche or Jay Clayton or James McDonald, it just seems like it's never ending with this guy.
Well, and the question of will the Senate confirmation be a real rigorous, I mean, that's a real question. I mean, it has started to feel in recent years like those things have become theater, where you kind of know the deal's already done and you're just watching a show.
It's probably one of the examples that you were alluding to, if the founding fathers were to come back, to see the Senate completely abdicate its role in oversight and in the confirmation process, because now it's all about herding the Republicans into rubber stamping whatever nominee Donald Trump is for.
Going viral on Twitter for a day.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some fault lines now.
I mean, the constitutional language is advice and consent of the Senate. And we're getting judges confirmed on a daily basis almost who refuse to say who won the 2020 election.
So what concerns you when you kind of look at the 250 mark? You said there's hope, there's cause for hope, but also cause for concern, and not all is hopeless.
Well, we have a powerful executive branch right now. And the thing about an executive branch that is as powerful as it has become, and this is really a message to the mega crowd. It's a message to the people who support Donald Trump despite the reasons not to support Donald Trump. What goes around comes around, and that is problematic when it comes to a powerful executive. A benevolent dictator is one that you happen to agree with.
James Sample,
thank you
Thanks
for
as always.
coming on set, as always.